Welcome back, everyone. This is Ayar Budiab, and we are in the middle of our Angular JS course. And today, let's talk about custom filtering. So we have discussed how we filter data before. We discussed all the different options that we had. We looked at the documentation on the Angular website, and we saw the different ways of using filters. We can turn things into uppercase, lowercase. We usually use the pipe to be able to filter that, right? So that's something we have discussed, but let's today create something simple, but we add our own filter. And since we're talking about the people and their age and such, let's use the age to decide whether this person can or cannot drive. Okay, so let's say if the person is 18 or above, then they can drive. If not, they cannot drive. Okay, let's see how we can deal with that. And to do so, I'm going to stay on the same page. I'm going to use the script to create my module, and then the filters will be created on those module and on that module. There's only one module in this case, and the filter would be tagged to it. And then we see how we can ng it to a list of elements, a list of people, and then we can use our binding and the filter that we have just created. So let's go ahead and do this. Right now, as you can see in the HTML, I don't have any ng app, and then I have the actual div in here that contains a table with the header first name, and then I have the body with a table and nothing in it, right? And then I'm referencing AngularJS, and then I have my script. Okay, now let's go ahead and create the application and the filter inside the script, and then go back and change our code or our HTML accordingly. So I'm going to declare my my app. Again, let's call it main app, and that will be Angular.module. For that module, we give it a name. Let's call this one main app. And then this module does not depend on other modules, so the array is empty. And now, since we called it main app, let's go up here in the HTML, and we can say, for example, data ng app. And as I mentioned, again, you don't have to use data. You can simply use ng app. Either way, it would work. And that would be main app. So now that I declared my module, I'm referring to it up here. Now, on that module or that main app, I'm going to add the filter. Okay, and the way I do this is say main app dot filter, the same way I said dot controller before, right? The same concept. Now I'm adding the filter on the main app. Let's call this one can drive, and then let's go ahead and do function, and then that's the body of the function. Now, in this case, the difference is that this would return a function that will do the work. Okay, so inside the function, and that's pretty much how we can do things within JavaScript, right? A function is just it's not only a simple function like you do in other programming languages, it's just an object. And in this case, for this function, I'm going to return a function. That function takes age as a parameter, and it will do its work in here in the body. Now in here, I'm going to say if age is greater than or equal to 18, I'm going to return can, else I'm going to return cannot. Okay, so then I created a filter named canDrive. That's a function right here, and then this returns the function that does the work. That function takes age as a parameter, and then I will use that to decide whether I'm going to return can or cannot. Okay, So far so good. Let's go back up here and see what else we can do for our example. And here for the div, I'm going to use some initial data. So I'm going to use ng-init like I've done in previous exercises and initialize that with a set of data. So that ng-init will contain the list of the people that I need. So I'm going to copy that off my clipboard and paste it here. You see that the array is people. It has a list of objects. Every object has a name and an age. Different ages for different names. And then that's my initialization. Now, since everything in here is inside the div, they'll be able to use people to do their binding. Okay. Now, let's go back to the, don't worry about the header. We can put anything in here that we want, right? Don't worry about this. But the key part in here is going into the body and seeing what we want to do. Well, I'm going to have a row for every one of those people in the people array that you see up there in the ng-init. So we've used ng-repeat before, right? We know how to do this. So we can say ng-repeat, and we make it equal to, let's do person in people. Okay, now inside the TD, I'm going to refer to that. So I'm going to use the double brackets, and in here I would say person dot name. Okay, let's just, before we proceed, let's take that and try to display it on the page. It says first name and is not referring to anything down there. So let's go ahead and see what we missed and why it's not displaying the data for every one of those people in the list. So what we have in here is the ng-init. We refer to the ng app, to the main app on the top, and we have done the ng-init inside the div that contains the list of people that we have, and we also have the ng-repeat for the person in people, and then inside here I'm going to do person.name. I'm going to bind to the person.name. Let's go down to the script and see what else we missed here. We have the main app, angular.module, refers to main app, and then it doesn't depend on anything. And then main app.filter, and that will be can-drive, comma, function. And then it returns the actual function that takes the age, and if the age is greater than or equal to 18, it returns that, otherwise it returns cannot. So let's see what else we can have, because it seems in here I'm not seeing what the error is. One thing that I have noticed that in my array in here, I have the actual names with single quotes, right? And then I have my array people, the whole thing, surrounded with single quote as well. That's what just throw things off. So what you need to do, it's either use single quote here and then double quotes inside, right? Because it will think that this has terminated here for the single quote. So either use the double quote inside and the single quote outside, or simply use the double quote outside for the ng-init and then the single quote for the names inside. And I believe this should take care of it. So what happens in here is we initialize the array. We reference the person's name in here. I did not use my filter yet. I'm just making sure that everything is working before I use my filter. And then let's go ahead and preview that on the screen. And now I should have it with the list of the names available from the array. Now going back to the actual code, I need to use the filter. And I could, in here, for the example person name, I can pipe that into uppercase, right? We've seen this before. And let's reload the page, and now everything is uppercase, right? This is the simple filters already available through the basic filters from Angular. Now what we need to do is use our own custom filter. So now I'm going to say person name, and then I'm going to use his age to determine whether this person can drive. Okay, so person name, and I'm going to use double brackets here and then say something like a drive. Now in here I'm going to use person age, and that person age is piped into can drive. This is my filter down here, right? Can drive. I'm piping that into this, and then after that age is being piped into can drive, I'm going to get that result and uppercase it. Okay, so this piping in here is basically provided through Angular. This in here is my own filter. Now notice what happened. We took the person's age and we piped that into can drive. So in this case, what you're saying is this guy is a parameter to this guy. That's why the age is being passed in, and you see the function in here that takes age as a parameter. It uses that age to compare it to 18, and then it's going to return can or cannot drive. Okay, so this age gets into can drive return can or cannot. That is piped into uppercase, so the can or cannot would be uppercased. Okay, let's go ahead and save this, and let's try to reload the page. So now I have Mike can drive, Lisa cannot drive, right? Lisa is down here. Let's go back to the declaration. We get Lisa is 17, it says cannot drive. Mike is 20, it says can drive, and so on. Okay, now this as far as our results are concerned. But one thing you can do, if something is not working, like for example in the previous case, when something is not working with your code and you're trying to figure out what's going on, you can always load your developer tools, right? And you can do this over here. Let me move this window a little bit over to the right, to the left, I'm sorry, so you can see what's going on. You see over here on the top right corner, you can go to tools and look at developer tools. Developer tools window would load up. You see it down here in the bottom. You can take that and snatch it out and display it on a separate window. But in my case, what's important to me is what I'm trying to show you is the actual tabs down here. One of the tabs says the source, which is the source code. If I click on this little arrow in here pointing to the right, I can see my source code. I can click on custom filter, and it should show me the code for my custom filter. This is the function. It only shows me my JavaScript, right, which is what I need right now. And it has my declaration of the module, the filter, and so on. What you can do, if you're not sure about how something is working, you can put breakpoints. Let's look over here. At line 25, I have if age is greater than 18. So I need to know what's coming into this function to be able to decide. So let's put a breakpoint. By simply clicking on that item in here, on the number, you will see that blue rectangle pointing over to the right. That means it's a breakpoint. Means the code will stop at this line, and you can step into it and figure out what's going on. I can come to the page and reload it. By doing so, notice nothing is bound yet, and that's why you see the actual text, and it says pause in debugger. So now I'm in the debugger mode, and it's holding off at that line. If you simply hover over the age, it gives you the value 20. So now you can see that this is the actual 20 coming in from Mike's age. Right? That's the first one, 20. And then you can use this. You look at the right hand side in here, you can step into things, step out of things, right? You can step out of this call, and notice it took me to AngularJS because I don't have to step into the Angular code, right? So I can say step out, still in Angular. I can keep going step out until it takes me completely out of that line, out of that AngularJS, and takes me back to my code. Now it says the second one is 17. Is 17 or bigger than 18? No, it says cannot, and then it will continue. So you can always step through the code one line at a time to figure out what's going on and be able to work with that data. You can always also go to the console, and the console will help you determine stuff. For example, I just typed in age, hit enter, it gave me the value 17. So it gives you the actual values of the variables as you step through the code. Another thing in here, notice that since I already went through the first iteration, it says Mike can drive, but the others are still non-bound, right? And as we step through them one line at a time, they will be bound and the data will be completed like you've seen in the previous screen. So this is how I can work with creating my custom filter. So then filters, now we learn that filters are tagged into the main module like controllers are. So I can say my main module dot filter, and I declare my filter and let it do its work, and then I can use that filter like I'm using any other predefined filters within Angular. That's how I can work with filters. Let's go ahead and move to other binding and validation and so on. We need to discuss those and get more familiar with it. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Ayad Boudiab, and you have a good day.